Debates and discussions are representing as philosophically, politically, and theologically are some of the most viewed and engaged within the world today. And of course, this guy has like 1,000 degrees. I don't need to mention them right now. We're getting here all night. Inshallah, I'll give the floor to Abba Shapiro. Inshallah.
I'm to Oxford graduate, right? Come on, water, come on, water. Come on, water. Just hold it. This guy. What do you say?
Yo, was that the guy you saw? Was that the guy you saw?
What? Yes.
That's the guy you saw.
I didn't see his head.
But did you see the same shirt?
Huh?
He's wearing the same
He's
thing?
wearing a jacket. He was wearing a jacket, yeah.
Who's Marco Nino?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're living in very precarious times where the Muslim people are under severe attack. We've seen on the news, we will continue to see some of the most devastating scenes we've seen in a long time. We've seen on the news and we continue to see small children, young children being slaughtered at the hands of the barbarians, the cowardly barbarians who are the Israeli army. We see children coming out of the rubble with great spirit and immense bravery. Just yesterday I saw a child literally being pried out of the rubble, and all he was saying was Al-Qudsu lana, which means the Quds is ours. I looked at that and learned more lessons from that child than I have learned from 1,000 adults. The deep-rooted resilience, the sabr, the patience that our people in Gaza now is surely an inspiration for every single one of us. And I'll be honest with you guys, there's a sense of helplessness that we also feel, I'm sure. This wouldn't be authentic if I didn't tell you that when I saw that man pry out that child, his own daughter, and hold his daughter in his hands, whilst he was screaming and shouting in agony as his dead daughter lay in his hands. I couldn't tell you how emotional that actually made me feel, because his daughter looked like my daughter. She looked just like my own daughter. But what I found so encouraging, so powerful, so amazing was how these people, after that, they say Alhamdulillah. They say all praise and thanks belong to Allah. Here we are in the so-called developed world, the first world. We're afflicted with trivialities, things which would be considered minimal in the context of suffering like that, and we can't remain patient. We've become weak as a people. We have become weak as a people because good times make weak people. But when we look at Gaza and we look at the side, when you see an army with the most sophisticated technology in the world, the Israeli army. And they said we're going to come in after 24 hours. You've heard this on the news, didn't you? And it's been, I don't know, 7 days? And I've been seeing the reactions, the micro-expressions on the faces of those Israeli soldiers. And I can tell you categorically, objectively, honestly, undoubtedly, indubitably, incontrovertibly, that they are worried, they are scared, they are terrified. Because for them, what do they have? What if they die, do they have on the other side? What do they believe happens to them if they die? They don't have what Muslim people have, this idea of an afterlife in heaven, martyrdom, and these things. So if death happens to them, they've lost everything which is their life. And that's the truth of the situation when it comes to Islam. That for us, Islam gives us something which no army, which no military, which no technology can give any human being, which is tawakkul, reliance on God, which produces the ultimate kind of bravery, the like of which you will not find anywhere else. For that reason, Islam is the greatest of blessings. That's why, if you look at the historical record, you will find that it was a small band of people who are Muslim people who are able to topple and expand into the Roman Empire and to the Persian Empire. Small group of people in the desert. Undone some of the most sophisticated and well-established empires that human beings have ever known. America is effectively an empire, if we're honest about the situation, especially after what we called Cold War in 1991, when the war came down. There was a Cold War between the Soviet Union and the Americans. And as such, until now, the Americans have been the superpower in the world. It's their time for empire. The American empire has stayed for about 32 years. That's how long the American empire has been around for. It's a strong empire, militarily, economically, and so on. But compare the American empire, pound for pound, with the Roman Empire, which was there for thousands of years. It would be a baby empire in comparison. And the Muslim people, a small group of desert fighters, were able to take over the Roman Empire and the Persian Empire and establish their presence in both places. By the way, historically speaking, this is one of the greatest historical moments, most shocking historical moments known in all of history, all of recorded history. This by itself is an evidence that Islam is true. This by itself. One person called Mohammed Rogerson, historian, he's a historian, he said, the similitude of these people, the Muslims, taking over the Roman Empire and the Persian Empire is like the similitude of Eskimos living in igloos, taking over Russia and America. It was a shocking thing. Could you imagine Eskimos in Greenland or in Iceland or wherever else going to America and taking over America and going to Russia and taking over Russia? This is an impossibility. Likewise, we have these desert fighters with primitive technologies who were able to take over Persian Empire, Roman Empire. What's the secret of that? As I said, historians are so shocked. Gombrich, an Orientalist historian, who wrote a short history of the world, he said when he was speaking about this, the most shocking thing, he said, I'm never going to write about history. It's the most shocking thing. The expansion of Islam. So the question is, in the past, what was it that made the Muslims so successful? It was one thing and one thing only, of the reliance. You come as close as you can to what is humanly possible to conquering all of life itself. Because all of us here are mortal beings. Mortal, meaning we will die. Everyone here will die. every single person will die. It's the most uncontroversial thing anyone can say, that we will all die. However, although all of us will die, the closest thing you can get to being immortal is being connected with the immortal, who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Which is why we say, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. That there is no strength and power except with Allah. And it's the same Allah who told us how to defeat the enemies of Islam. The way to defeat the enemies of Islam, the ones who want to attack Islam, the ones who want to kill our children, the ones who want to brainwash our children, the ones who want Islam to be wiped out of existence, is to strengthen your iman, number one. Is to reinforce this idea of a tawakkul, which is the reliance of Allah. Because let me ask you a question. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, radiallahu anhu, who was the best friend of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This man, who was unwavering in his belief, unshakable in his belief. If someone were to give him the equivalent of $1 million, $1 billion, to give up his religion, do you think he would give up? Yes or no? Do you think Abu Bakr as-Siddiq would sell out the religion of Islam for money? The same one who after Al-Isra wal-Ma'raj happened, the ascension journey, and the people were goading him and saying, your prophet, your friend is saying that he went into the sky and he did this about the Prophet Muhammad. And he said, if he said it, then he's speaking the truth. Meaning, I completely, unconditionally believe in the Prophet and everything he said. This is Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. It was the Abu Bakr as-Siddiq mindset that led to these conquests of the Roman Empire to the Persian Empire. And that's what we need to be able to foster. The Abu Bakr as-Siddiq mindset. And let me summarize it in the following way. And remember what I'm saying to you now. And in fact, let me take it from the words of one of these people. He said, the one who's willing to commit suicide has the initiative. Now, before the secret services come and say suicide, they say, we knew there was something going on here. Yeah? See, what are you going to say? Blow yourself up now? No. This is a figurative expression, meaning the one who's willing to take it further is willing to win. And this works in every single walk of life. The one who's willing to walk away from the negotiation is the one who's likely to get the best terms in the negotiation. It works with everything. But the point is this. In Gaza now, what we're finding is, and I'm watching this on Al Jazeera and other places, these people are saying, we're not moving from here, even if we have to die. We're seeing children exhibit bravery, the like of which, wallahi, I didn't even think was possible for a child to exhibit. We are seeing women, wallahi, one of these women make all of us, put all of the men here to shame, including myself, who are saying that I'm ready to die and I've done this and I've done that and I've prepared myself. And that is because their conditions have led them to immense bravery. We need to exhibit the same bravery. So in the information war, which every single comrade here, all of you are comrades, and in the information war, which is one of the most important things in this conflict, we have a moral and ethical obligation. We can use the internet. Yes, we can use the internet to put forward our narratives, to share correct information, to bust the myths of the Israeli occupier. When we do that, we are able to fight back in a very powerful manner. Already, they're on the back foot. I've been analyzing the situation quite closely. And from my assessment and the assessment of the team, I believe we are winning the information war now because of the internet. Don't you agree? Yes or no? Yes. And the public opinion, the hearts and the minds component, believe me, is one of the most important components in this entire conflict. It is one of the most important components in this entire conflict. That helplessness that we feel can be channeled into productive behavior using the internet. And believe me, that is the best thing we can do now, bar none. Engage in the public opinion war, which means you have to know the situation in the Palestine-Israel conflict. You have to know the history. You have to know the facts. You have to hear the arguments, and you have to be ready to respond. And if you're active on the pro-Palestinian cause and you get harassed in your institution, your place of work, or in other places, then you have to respond. And this is something, let me tell you it for free. Let me tell you this piece of information which is going to help you with the rest of your life for free, which is the following. In life, in this country, because of what you believe and what I believe, you're going to be pressured, manipulated, even subjugated, potentially exploited for what you believe. Put your hands up if you have been, for example, somewhat vocal about the Palestine cause. Okay, excellent. From these people, put your hands up if you've had some kind of backlash from any institution. See, that's a significant number. And if you put off, say it's terrorism. The Palestinian flag somehow has become a symbol for terrorism, which I think is a racist comment. Because they know us Muslims don't want to be labeled as terrorists. This is what they know. So they're trying to manipulate you so that you get scared and frightened and you don't respond and you don't engage in the information war. Because they know that in the English-speaking language, us Muslims, we have a disproportionate impact and ability to change the narrative. It's not the Arabic-speaking world they're looking at as much, or the Bengali-speaking world, or the Urdu-speaking world, or the Somali-speaking world. They're looking at the English-speaking world. And they're looking at accounts from the West, which means we are in a favorable position to change the situation. So of course they're going to try and gag you, and suffocate you, and silence you. But there are ways to fight back. Practically there are ways to fight back, which is the following. They want to label you because they know that you will be scared to be called a terrorist or something like that. Yeah, it's terrorist sympathizer. That's what they know you're scared of. How about this? How about I make the following argument? Israel is an apartheid state. It has laws which discriminate on the basis of race. Is that true or not? Yes. Is there any doubt in that? No. Is there any doubt? No. I'll give you some more information on this point. In 1973, they had something called the Apartheid Convention, the UN Apartheid Convention. This UN Apartheid Convention said that if you have laws which discriminate on the basis of race, then it's a racist, it's apartheid. Israel has laws which discriminate on the basis of race. For example, the right to return. It's only for Jewish people. Okay? Which means, according to the UN and to the 1973 Convention, they're an apartheid state. That's what that means. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this is because for the following reason. If you attack Israel's rights to defend itself, or this or that, or whatever it may be, if you attack the state of Israel, or if you see those guys defending the state of Israel, you can say you're a racist sympathizer. Because you support a racist state. You're the equivalent of someone who would have supported the rogue state of South Africa. You're the equivalent of someone who would have supported the additional rights of the white man to have privileged rights over a black man in South Africa, the apartheid state. Are you a racist? And this is how I put it. I put in the question. Say, we have reason to believe that you have racially discriminated against us. For those people here who are being harassed by the institution, who want to label you as a terrorist sympathizer, well, we know your insecurities. Your insecurities is you don't want to be labeled as a racist. It's one of the worst things to be labeled as, especially as a white man or a white woman in Canada. So that's your insecurities. You know our insecurities, fine. Of course we don't want to be labeled as terrorists. But we know you don't want to be labeled as racists. So if you want to be happy putting a label upon us, we're happy we got our labels as well. We're ready to fight fire with fire. And that's the attitude that we have to have. Respond to people in life with the energy that they give you. If they come with aggressive energy, harmful energy, antagonistic energy, provocative energy, hostile energy, then come back with that. Islam is not turn the other cheek. Islam is وَجَزَاءُ سَيِّئَةٍ سَيِّئَةٌ مِثْلُهَا. Which means that if you come with a sin on me, I'm going to give it back to you. This is allowed in Islam. Especially with people who are in essence oppressive. Don't let people oppress you. Don't let people twist your arm. It's not the arguments that matter as much as the attitudes that we have to have as Muslims in these countries. And it's got to be the same attitudes that black people had in the 1960s civil rights movement. We're at that time now. We are at that time now. Where the response has to be proportionate, has to be ready. You must take risks. You must not fear the consequences as much. Show them. Show them you're ready. You'll know this. And I've given this analogy before. But if you show and manifest fear and anxiety, if you show and manifest, take this as a principle for life. Anywhere you go, whatever you do, if you show with your body language, with your behavior, with what you're willing to accept, with what we're willing to accept collectively and individually as a Muslim community, that we're going to accept this. We're all right. We're anxious. We're a little bit scared. You're causing me mental health issues. All of that stuff doesn't work. Doesn't work. Will not work. Push back. Because if you don't push back now, it's not just about Palestine and Israel situation. It's about you and me. And Mutanabbi, one of the great Arab poets, he says, "Man yahin, yashal al-hiwanu alayh, ma li jurhin bi mayyitin ilam." He says, the one who is humiliated once, it becomes easier to humiliate him over and over again. Just like a dead body doesn't feel anything, is numb to being sliced. We must have dignity. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us. He said that sharaf al-ummah, that certainly the dignity of the ummah is qiyamuhum bil-layl, is standing up at night time in prayer. Wa'izzuhum, and their might, their self-dignity is istighna'uhum 'anil nas, their self-sufficiency from the people. Our problem for the last 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 50 years, 100 years in the West is that we've been groveling, begging. It's not an allegiance. It's an ask for help, groveling. The left wing, the right wing, that politician, this one, that one. And they don't respect that. They don't care about that. The more they see you groveling, the more they will hit you on the head. The attitude and the temperament and the disposition has got to become disagreeable. We disagree. We disagree with the stances of the politicians in the West. We disagree. We disagree with what Justin Trudeau said. We disagree. We disagree with Rishi Sunak. We disagree. We disagree with Joe Biden. We disagree. We disagree with the policy of Israel. We disagree. And no amount of flattery can get us to agree. Do you agree? Yes or no?
Yes.
Today, on this day, and every day henceforth, hitherto, every day henceforth, hitherto, we say no to everybody who wants us to agree with them. We say no. We have a conscientious gap. We say no, no, no. Whether it's implantations of LGBTQ curricula in our children's schools without our will, we say no to the left wing. We say no. Without our permission, we say no. Whether it's forced indoctrination of our children, we say no. Whether it's you must agree with Israel's rights to defend itself and they define it in a certain way, no, and no amount of bullying can get us to agree with you. We disagree. Do we agree or disagree? Disagree. And that's why I say to you guys today, here in Canada, we must keep the momentum. We are winning. Wallahi, we are winning. You might think that it's not the case because you see, and I see, the hospital being blown up, and the children in body bags, and the father. Wallahi, this is the most disturbing thing I have ever seen in my life, where he had his baby who was deformed and he was holding it for the world to see. Deformed. I don't know, I had a rush of emotion. I didn't know whether to punch the screen or cry or vomit or go angry, but the rage was burning inside me and is still burning inside me. Is it burning inside you? Yes! And they want us to justify the Israelis' actions. Can you believe it? Justin Trudeau's coming to a mosque and wants us to get some kind of no. Say something. And so I say to you guys today, keep the momentum. Because recently I went on a show. I'm not sure if many of you have seen it. It's a man called Piers Morgan. And Piers Morgan didn't see it coming. And in the backstage, before I went on, one of the people came and said, look, Piers Morgan is a little bit aggressive, so if he's getting too aggressive, tell him. I looked at the guy and I smiled and I said, listen, Piers Morgan is very aggressive, but so am I. And in fact, I was restraining myself. The point is this. One thing you'll find in that particular interview, which has now been viewed 7.5 million times in 4 days, in addition to 1 million additional times on the live, in addition to 1 million additional times in different languages, about 10 million in 5 days. And you can see with all the comments, over 150,000 comments. You can see with all the comments that the average white man, liberal, in England, in America, and in Canada has changed their mind and seen the hypocrisy of these media outlets. So much so that Morgan and his friends are trying to get my attention on Twitter. Like an ex-girlfriend. Ex-wife.
Making halal, making.
I'm traveling, I was coming through Iceland and I was on the volcanoes and I was looking at Piers Morgan is trying to me. I'm not interested. I'm done with him. He's like a taxi driver. He took me to my destination. And now I don't need him anymore. narrative can and will continue to change. We can push back. Because now I'm even seeing the Israeli Foreign Ministry on Twitter and other platforms responding. This is the Israeli Foreign Ministry, Benjamin Netanyahu. Benjamin is defending himself and they're on the back foot and this and that and they're scared. Wallahi, I know I'm here in Canada, but I can smell all the way the fear. Not just in the troops, the Israeli troops who are killing the innocents, but in the political elites, like Netanyahu and his supporters. I can smell the fear. One other person I engaged with, as you may know, Canada's own Jordan Peterson. And I'm not sure if you know, but he made this comment saying, give him hell, Netanyahu, give him hell. I'm not sure if you come across this. He was supporting Netanyahu. And then after 2 days of being barraged and being ravaged, slapped around on Twitter, he disabled his comments or he only allows certain people to. Akhi, this is Twitter. You have kids in Gaza who are taking shells and this and coming out of the rubble and saying, and you can't even handle 2 days of pressure on Twitter. That's what happens when you pay a man to try and take your agenda forward. He may be getting $50 million a year to say something, to be on Daily Wire. 50 million a year. Unbelievable amount. And he can't take 2 days of attack on Twitter. You can't buy courage. You can't buy courage. And with that, guys, I will conclude. It's going to open up for questions and answers. Jazakumullah khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Viewer.
Jazakallah khairan to Mohammed Hijab. May Allah preserve him, protect him.